Welcome to a new episode of Guesting. I'm down south in deepest, darkest Essex, and I'm meeting up with an Essex legend, a carp fishing giant, a man who's caught big uns home and abroad time and time again. It's none other than RidgeMonkey and mainline baits, Dave Levy. Now, throughout the course of the show, I'm going to pick his brains on all things carp fishing, his history, his thoughts, rigs, bait, and much more. As well as that, there's a RidgeMonkey Hunter bait boat up for grabs for you to win for absolutely free, so stay tuned. Without further ado, I'm at the Sanctuary, Essex Carp Syndicates, and he's out there somewhere, pegged up. Hopefully, we can help ourselves to a few of the mega carp that live in these waters. Let's go find him, eh? Here he is. Dave, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. Yeah.
It's been far too long. I'm trying to think how long it's been since we were on, not this swim, I think we were next door, weren't we? We fished it a while back. 8 years?
Yeah, that was years ago. I've seen you since then, mate.
I've not grown much, mate.
We've done a podcast together, do you remember?
We did do that, yeah, I did. I tried to blank it out. No, I'm joking. It was a good one.
I touched you once.
And it all changes. We're at the Sanctuary. We're in Essex, your hometown. What's the plan? Talk to me.
Well, it's a really good lake, this. There's at least 400 fish in here. You wouldn't think so at times. It's one of them, it can be quite moody. Apparently it's been fishing okay at the moment. I reckon the average fish is £25.
Wow.
And it's got a hell of a lot of 30s now, probably 10 40s, so really good water. Not somewhere I come in my normal fishing, to be fair, but for something like this, a bit of filming, good chance of catching a fish or two.
Yeah, perfect. I'm really excited. As I said, it was a long time ago since we were on here, and those fish, by the sounds of it, have absolutely kicked on. And the place looks really mature and mega. So I'm really looking forward to the fishing. I'm going to pick your brains through the course of it, mate. We're going to talk all things, a bit like the podcast, but probably we'll get a bit of controversy out of you, I'm sure, mate, because you're not shy, are you?
No, not really.
For now, I'm going to let you get these out because you look like you're mid-setup. I'm going to go plumb next door, so we're close by, we can get all the filming done, get mine out, and hopefully, next time I see you, it's either with a carp or I'm going to chew, I reckon, that ear off first. Although you're quite handy at boxing, mate, so I'm going to...
I'm getting old now.
Yeah,
you'll be all right.
I can do you on the legs. I'll see you in a bit, mate. All right.
See you in a bit, mate. Thing with a bait boat, right, is there's a lot of ways to use them. A lot of people think it's just drop it and drop it in a big clump, but it's a bit like casting. You've got to let the line ping through your finger so that your bait, your rig is being held out, but it's still dropping in a straight line where all the bait's dropping. And I do see people, they should open it and dump it on the spot, and the rig's all sitting over itself. If you've got a bait boat and you start dropping it in clear margins, you'll see that you do need to drop it in a certain style to get a good drop on them. Well, I just had the rarest thing happen. Hass made me a cup of coffee. We're just sitting down to drink it and the rod has torn off, so hopefully we'll get it in. The fish in here are notoriously soft-mouthed, so they're not in till they're in. But yeah, feels actually all right, but they all do at range, don't they? Pick them up at range, they all feel all right.
He don't mess about, my boy, does he?
There you go.
Oh, nice.
There is like a really nasty snag between these two swims. It's like a post, I think, or something I need to get out.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll get down there, mate.
Yeah,
well, Johnny, they haven't been out long, have they?
No, mate, what's that? Less than an hour.
It's beautiful.
Go for it.
Well, do this!
Yes.
What a start!
Cheers, mate.
Well done, mate.
It's all right, that one as well.
Yeah, that's
Mate, I lost a mid-60 at the net the other week. It's giving me bad flashbacks.
Yeah, that will do.
Yeah, that's £30 about
Yeah, all day. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I reckon that could be £37.
Yeah, it is a good one, yeah. £39.
39?
Yeah.
I said 35, you said 32?
39.
Mate, that is an absolute touch.
Yeah, what a result.
Autumn carp angling at the Sanctuary completed it, lads.
Well, how about that for a sanctuary fish? And our first bite of the session, £39, and it's come within an hour. And I was just saying to Hassan, I think we might have to wait till the evening, and the rod has rattled off while we're having a coffee. We've had this beautiful thing, £39. It's actually my biggest carp from the sanctuary, so I'm well pleased. But yeah, don't get better than this. Horn star. Yes, lads, that'll do. We've literally just let go to 39, and the left-hand rod has absolutely belted off. And they've been in the same area, both at about 28 wraps, but one on a little pop-up and one on a bottom bait, so it shows the fish are actually there. And funnily enough, as I was setting up, I was saying to the cameraman, Brad, I've just seen a fish, and he saw one, so we knew they were out there. I have seen 2 or 3, just a bit longer than Hass is fishing as well, so hopefully it won't be long and we'll have a few fish on the bank, but I'll concentrate on getting this in, and hopefully it's as good as the last fish.
Dave, what's this little crank technique you got going on here, mate?
Well, actually a match angler showed me it years ago, and he said when he's playing fish on the quiver tips, because obviously you ain't got as much power as you have with a carp rod, he said if you keep the rod nice and low, don't lift them off the bottom too much, because you imagine being pulled off the bottom, that makes them fight harder. So I just guide them in with the rod down at a low level and then bring it up when the fish comes to the margin.
I like it, mate. God, he's smashing it up, isn't he, boy? Oh, he's another nice fish. I'm going to get down here, mate.
Right, mate.
Oh, my Lord.
In he goes, mate. That's it.
Yeah! It's 2!
Cheers, mate. Yeah. It's going well. Well, fish number 2, £29 and 10 ounces. Looks very similar to the last one, just a bit lighter. And yeah, things are going better than expected, which is always good. So I'm gonna get this one back and sit down and have a chat with this man, and he wants to pick my brain, so it won't take long. Let's get it back.
What I want to talk about is your angling. Now, I've been fortunate to do a pretty lengthy podcast chat with you and go through a load of different chapters, and also sort of angle with you and talk to you about your angling. What strikes me is that you've always been very driven in your carp angling. Like, it's never been, and I won't say passive, but it's always had like a focus. There's always been a hunt, there's always been a target. It's always been that style of carp angling. Where do you think that comes from?
I think probably from, you know, like people grow up now and they'll watch YouTube and people fishing linear and big hit fishing.
Yeah.
When I grew up, my heroes were Richie McDonald and people like that, and it was all about Heather, Basil, with hunting one fish. And I grew up like idolising these anglers. Even Dick Walker as such, I mean, they were fishing for one big carp. And that's what's been the buzz for me my whole life, to go and target a certain fish and try and catch that particular carp, whether it be in a 2-acre lake or a 100-acre lake.
That is another thing that I was going to talk about, is the variety of venues, even different places across the continent that you've caught carp from, including 100-pounders, and I'm sure we'll get onto that. The other thing, as well as sort of that, if you like, target and that focus in your angling, is the intensity you've done it at. Now, I've spoke to a lot of very, very good carp anglers, but in terms of the intensity of your angling, you have to be one of the most intense carp anglers. When you've locked onto something, you will go to quite extreme lengths to make sure that you capture your carp, won't you? Talk to me about sort of the ins and outs of sort of some of the lengths you've been to catch it.
Yeah, look, when you target a fish, you never know whether you're going to catch it in your first few sessions or your first few years, you know what I mean? You're talking about fishing for one fish. And I've actually always found the friendlier they are, for me, the harder they are to catch. Because if they're friendly, they're more sporadic, coming out all over the place. Yeah. But them fish that only do 1 or 2 trips a year, there's quite a lot. Like if it does 1 trip a year, you know the swim it come from.
Right.
You roughly know the area it come from. You get a lot of info. But if a carp's quite sporadic, you've got a lot more to work with. When it's less sporadic, you know where it's going to come from. So I've recently caught that Wicks Mere Common with this year in the end of January, and that fish took me 70 nights over the course of 3 winters, really. Jeez. And like I just knew its habits were the centre of the lake in the winter, the edges in the summer. But in the summer, that fish can spawn out to like 38 pounds, and it don't look like the same carp. So after I did the first year on there, it was then all about fishing it in the winter. So now I'm going to try and catch it the hardest time of the year. Because that's not only when it's biggest, it looks the best. You know
mate, it looks incredible. What a common that is.
So that.
But I also know that like the early part of your fishing, like you obviously served in the military. You obviously had a very busy job on a refinery. You had a lot going on in life. It weren't that you were doing big chunks of time, sitting weeks on end in a swim. That angling, that sort of big fish style angling, without necessarily the time and having a busy lifestyle and all sorts of different constraints on you. How did that manifest itself? Do you bait a lot of places? How does that work?
Basically, you know, like the key to catching big carp, and I think the key to success is consistency. If you do anything consistently, there will be no luck in the outcome. And I used to literally be able to bait a Tuesday. I would finish work, drive to the lake. I didn't care where it was. Sometimes it was 80 miles away. I would bait up on a Tuesday and I would get a Thursday night. So I would then fish the Thursday. But that baiting session on Tuesday was as important as my Thursday night fishing, because that meant I could get a spot going, and basically they'd get the feed for nothing on it, gain more confidence, and by the time I got there Thursday, I would fish and you'd get hopefully the result. But sometimes that took, 12 months. Sometimes it happened really quick. Really quick's really good.
Yeah.
So like consistency of baiting, visiting the venue. Sometimes if I couldn't fish and it was a local venue, I'd go for a walk around it for an hour. You know what I mean? Just have eyes on the water. You might pick something up, see the fish you want. You start seeing it in an area and start to put the puzzle together. Where the fish is hanging out. Does it like fresh winds? Is it a fish that, because some fish, I've found, big fish, don't even follow the wind. They have resident fish. They like an area and they hang around it a lot. And you think, bloody hell, all the other fish are down the other end of the lake. This one's still up in this corner, and you start to build a picture of what that fish is doing on a personal level, if you like.
How do you balance that then? Because obviously here you're talking high-end targets. You're talking fish that are, if you like, sought after by a lot of people. You've mentioned as common that you caught there. There's a lot of people on that venue I know that fish it. You've got limited time. You've probably got more time nowadays because of the nature of work. But back in the day, when you're working and you've got one night a week, do you ever feel like you missed out on that? Do you ever feel like it sort of cost you potentially, or were you always sort of geared to that style of angling?
Well, if you think about it, if you go into a darts match with someone with 20 darts and you've only got one, they're going to score higher.
Yeah.
Therefore, you just want to hit a bullseye. So I just needed to make sure that when I was fishing, I was doing it right. You know what I mean? Confident in what I was doing, the pre-baiting, using a rig I was confident in. And don't worry about other people's results. If you're worrying about what someone else is doing, you're not thinking about what you're doing. So I'd worry about what I was doing. And if so-and-so had 20 fish that year, good luck to him. I'm looking at what I'm doing, targeting that fish. And when I've caught it and I'm over the moon, I then look for the next one that might not necessarily be bigger, but I like the look of it. And I think, I want to catch that one now. And then you just move on. And it's about unlocking the next thing. That's what I love, and you unlock a lake. And like you could like, there's quick ways to unlock a lake. Sometimes you rely on confidence. Like I go in on a blowback on sale and it works straight away. And you think, bloody hell, this is work quick because they are just carp. But then other lakes you go to, it might be that the silverfish are so intense you couldn't use maggots like you did on the last venue. So every lake's going to be different. But over the years, you'll build up this massive experience that you go to water and you'll go, this was like such and such. And you're relating back all the time, like. And
do you write that stuff down, or is it all logged in?
No, it's logged in my head. I can even tell you raps that I fished 15 years ago when raps first come out, or positions on lake. I don't know why. My missus says you only remember when it's carp fishing, but she is right. I speak to mates, so they'll say, do you remember that fish we had at Walthamstow? I go, yeah, 28.4. And they go, how the hell do you... It's just carp fishing. I've got like a...
But you do think about it all the time as well, don't you? You said this to me like when we were starting here. You've always got a target or something playing out in your head, haven't you?
100%, yeah. Yeah, I'm normally 3 fish ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so when I see a fish I want, the plan is that if I catch that one and that one's still alive and I can get the ticket, I'm going there, you know what I mean? Or if I'm fishing for this fish, but this ticket happens to come up, because of the age of that fish, I'm gonna have to stop and go there because that fish is already 50 years old, and then I can come back to this fish. So yeah, I'm always planning ahead and all that, and I probably think about it too much. I'm probably crazy.
I don't think it's crazy. It's interesting, mate. As I said before, like intensity and sort of that drive to achieve it is, yeah, it's massively admirable. Like obviously, you see people operate in different manners, but I think knowing you and knowing your story, those things combined, and even now to this day when we're here, like you can see you ticking over, and we've talked about various other chapters and things that you want to do, and fishing abroad and big carp. It's all in there. There's a real sort of passion and enthusiasm and drive for it. Probably more so in terms of commitment. That's a big word, but I think you're one of the most committed anglers that I think I know, in terms of if you do something, even if it's not necessarily on or whatever, you will persist, won't you?
100%. Like, you know, if you get to a lake and the swim, you know there's an area the big one comes from, but you can't get in it, I don't think, oh, I'm going to go to such and such lake. Or people, you know, you get there, they go, there ain't been a fish out this month.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, I'm going to go. I don't, because I think I might learn something in that session that leads to the capture. So it's the consistency that gets you the result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nothing, when luck, every now and then you get lucky. Most of the time you get it because you're consistent.
Yeah, you earn it.
Yeah, like, and as well, your learning curve, right? Never block it in. Like, I know a lot of anglers, I'm 50 odd now, right? 51. And I know a lot of anglers my age, when a new rig comes out, they're like, oh, it's a load of crap. They won't change or mould with the times. I'm like, let's have a look at it then. I'm open to everything, always a student, always learning.
Yeah.
So I'm always progressing and I'm never stopping.
I think what's interesting, and it's a word that's used a lot, is mindset, or a word around that, guys. It's a very sort of successful mindset that you bring into your carp fishing. It's a very healthy mindset, I think. I don't know if that's from sort of your sporting background, discipline through sort of military or whatever, but you can definitely see sort of mirrors of that with like successful athletes or whatever. It's the intensity, it's the commitment, it's the sort of all in with it all, and the determination to just go through it all, mate.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
You've definitely caught them. We're going to talk about some significant captures later on, mate, but hopefully in the next 10 minutes you can catch another one for us, mate, and that'll be free. Jobs are good, isn't it? You don't need any more than that, do you?
I'll make you and Brad a cup of tea.
Lovely.
See if the rod goes
I'll
off.
take that. Always when you're making a brew, it'll go off, mate. But yeah, we'll get the brews on, and hopefully it's not too long before one of those rod goes. It does look good for it, mate, in this wind, doesn't it?
Yeah, mega conditions, mate.
Nice one, mate. Let's do it. I'm in. Oh no, I've got one. I'm in. Brothers! Brothers! Okay, mate, I'll call you in a bit. Well, Dave's absolutely shooting. It looks like one of them has taken pity on me and come down this way. The wind is hacking down to my right, and I'm sort of the furthest swim down the lake. And the left-hander, which I think was on a little yellow pop-up over a load of crumb, was tore off. And I'm playing one. I have got a very distinct bar, hence the swim name, right out in front of me that Dave's put me onto. And on this one, I think is just off the left-hand side of it. And I'm playing it quite carefully because the bar's quite pronounced, it's quite sharp. It's got deep water either side of it, and I've already felt it sort of behind the bar lock up a little bit. I'm trying to keep the rod as low as I can, keep the fish up in the water and coax it past the bar where hopefully it can sit in that deeper water and we can play them out. Either way, it's always a buzz to get a bite in it. You've got to love it. He's off the mark. Couldn't let Mr. Levy have all the fun, could I? Not in the same ilk or stamp. However, a real nice, clean, beautiful looking 20-pounder from the sanctuary and my first bite. What a start to the session. We've got tonight and tomorrow to hopefully bag a few more. I'm definitely going to pick more of that man's brains on some of the mega captures he's had, not just from Essex and waters like this, but from abroad as well. We're going to get some stills, slipping back, and enjoy a well-earned brew, I think. Happy days. Come on.
Okay, this is a rig that you probably have seen loads in carp fishing. It's a blowback rig. The only difference with mine is I use shrink tube on the shank as well. So if any nuisance fish pick it up, or even a coot, the rig remains set the whole time. The hook is a size 6 beak point. Then I've got probably 8 inches of Camo X 25-pound, little bit of putty in the middle to keep it all nailed down. And I also put a little bit of black pen on the shrink tubing just to break up the pattern if the fish is looking down. Bait wise, before we go any further, I've got a cell that is trimmed down and a pineapple pop-up that I've trimmed down. I use a scalpel for that so it sits nice and neat. It's almost like a chop, but it isn't one. Then I've got a long anti-tangle sleeve onto a uni lead clip, 2.5 foot of rock bottom tubing onto some Camo X line. It's a bit of a rat fight going on down there, but yeah, 6 ounce lead. Oi! Psst. What's going on in there? So as I was saying, on here I've got a 6 ounce lead, which might seem a bit excessive, but remember I'm bait boating. And if I'm boating in any fashion, whether it be a rowing boat or a bait boat, I'm using a heavy lead. And the reason for that is when a carp picks up 6 ounces of lead, the point of that hook gets driven right home. And if you ever want to do the experiment of trying to pick a 6 ounce lead up on your fingertip with a hook in it, you'll be going to hospital to have your hook taken out. And that is why I use it, because it drills your comb. They ain't shaking this about and getting rid of it, they're getting hooked, so that's why I've got it. That's a very important aspect of my fishing. So that is my blowback rig, and I've caught countless big fish on this, from 50-pound English carp to 100-pound European fish. So it's a very reliable rig, and I've got super confidence in it.
Dave, what a beautiful evening.
It is, mate. It's a nice evening.
Carpy, dark early though, isn't it?
That's the problem. You're coming into this time of year, you know, it's dark at 6. It will soon be dark at 4:30, 5. And if you're doing nights in the winter, you've got to have an iPad and Netflix.
Carpy has.
Carpy has, yeah.
What else has made it worse is you've been telling me ghost stories of fisheries nearby, and now I'm going to have to get Brad to spoon me in my bivvy tonight to get me to sleep.
Nothing unusual there, mate.
Nothing unusual. If that kicked off tonight, what you've told me, I am out of here, mate. You can have my rods, I'll leave my receiver, I'm off. You've obviously caught tons of incredible carp, both home and abroad. I know it's a very difficult question, but I wanted really to sort of pick out a couple of significant captures to you for whatever reason, and you can go into that and talk us through them and why you sort of chosen them or why they're so significant to you.
Yeah, it is actually a hard one, because I've been carp fishing 40 years next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. And sometimes the fish that mean a lot to you ain't necessarily the biggest ones you caught.
No.
But like, probably significant. Like, you know, there's photos on my phone or on your wall at home. I've got an office, and there's one photo I love looking at, and it's the Toll Pits Italian.
Yeah?
And the reason that was so significant to me is Toll Pits, by the time I got to it, had been blown up, and it was coming sort of back down the other side, you know. And I really wanted to go there and try and catch one of them old Italians, them Combe Valley Italians, before they all just went. I don't think there's any left now. And I used to get one night a week to fish back then. And I fished it for 2 years, and in 2 years I managed 40 nights, which was like, that was just the time I got. My kids were young, and you'd get down to this 3-acre lake, and there was like 23 swims, and I'd get the last swim on the lake, you know what I mean? But the only thing that kept me going is every night these fish seemed to come out of this corner snag where they lived all day.
Yeah.
And they seemed to do a lap of the lake. 'Cause you'd hear these big fish showing, even in the winter, I'd hear out in the lake, you know. So that'd keep me going. I remember I'd done a lot of blanks. I was probably on an 11 or 12 night blank. Bear in mind, I'm doing one night a week.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a bite. I ain't fishing anywhere else. And it's shut for the close season. And me and a couple of friends, Mark and Aaron, we decided we'd bait it, probably with everyone else that fished it. But
Yeah.
we drove from Essex down to Watford. I remember this one night, all blacked up, you know, like we was going to rob a
Balaclava
bank.
dirt.
Yeah, like we've got all this bait and we've jumped this fence that's down this alley, gone into toll pits, and we've absolutely freighted it, like about 30 kilo of bait.
Have you?
Yeah, like a couple
What,
of weeks.
near the snags or just everywhere?
Everywhere, just to get them on the
Right.
bait, you know what I mean? And seasoned, we'd done it a couple of times. And we got pulled over by the police one night. We're just driving out of Watford,
Yeah.
and this police car pulls us over. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We've been baiting, and this policewoman comes along. She goes, "Can you get out of the car, please, sir?" And I've got out. I'm dressed head to toe in black.
Oh no.
Like, she goes, "Where have you been?" I went, "It's a bit embarrassing, right? But we've been baiting a fishing lake." Yeah. And she just looked at me. She thought, he ain't making this up. She went,
No.
"Just get in your car."
You are that
Yeah,
sad. March on.
Go away. Like, yeah. Anyway, the season's opened, and there was a lot of full timers, probably
Yeah.
4 full timers on a tiny little lake. And you go around to the corner snag, and the 3 main fish in there that could do 40 pound, they're all sat in the snag.
You
And,
could literally see them as bold as that.
literally, mate, they were there, like in front of you. And I'm
It was
thinking,
quite tasty, wasn't it, around the lake as well? Wasn't there like is there a children's home and all sorts of bits and bobs around there or not?
there was something, yeah, over the
Yeah.
back. There was another little fishery in, and they had
Yeah.
2 lakes there. And a really posh housing estate over one side. Used to
Yeah.
have massive firework displays. But anyway, this after season started, had a couple of blanks, and I've got down there this one day, and all 3 fish are still in the same snag. They've been getting caught, but they're literally getting caught this side or that side.
Yeah.
And it's funny how, you know, carp are so aware that we're there. And I've gone up, and there's these 3 fish, and there was Plodder and the Italian. And I thought, either of them 2, I'd love to catch.
Spot
you know?
on, yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I remember it was actually Ash Bradbury was in one side, and James Willsmer was in the other. And they
Right.
were both really young at this time.
How old are you? Give me an idea.
I'm in my 30s.
Okay.
They're in their late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
And just dossing it down the lake. They're doing weeks, right? And I'm looking at these fish thinking, oh man, they ain't gonna move. Like, they're in them swims for weeks.
Yeah.
And look, there's a stick. So I picked up this stick. It's about 5 foot long, and I've put it under the water, and I've stroked it on the side of this 40 pounder. And all of a sudden, all her fins went up. She was like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
No one touches me in here, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I've done it
safe.
again. Yeah, and in the end, they're getting really vexed, these fish. And I thought, right. And I've gone like that, and they've gone swimming off out the snag. And I thought, go
Nice.
on, get out. Like that. Next morning, 8:30, I've had a take and had the Italian.
Shut
And
up.
I'm pretty sure if I hadn't poked that fish with that stick,
You
I
just
wouldn't have
sat in
caught.
there.
And I remember, like, a carp, but we're talking about, at that time, which is years ago, she was well over 50 years old. Like a proper old, black, wrinkly Italian, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, mega carp, ounce under 40 pound. But the weight was irrelevant.
No,
It's what she
yeah.
was. She was a Combe Valley Italian, you know what I mean? And still, like I say, of all the carp I've caught, still now, I still look at that photo with like a lot of...
I think I saw it on your lockdown
yeah.
lives in the office, isn't it? It's
It
framed
is, yeah.
somewhere in it, as you said before.
Yeah. I'm really fond of that carp.
Yeah, that's a cool place and a cool capture, isn't it?
Yeah. When I'm a working guy getting one night, not even one night a week, 20 nights a year,
Yeah.
and there's like full-time bait. I ended up getting 8 bites in 40 nights. That's what I had. In the
8
end.
bites in, and you
Yeah.
think what? Just because of baiting and getting them flushed out of that snag?
Yeah, and fishing the right areas, and which
Yeah.
don't sound a lot, but there was guys on there that were on like 100 night blanks.
100 night blanks.
It was when I was on there, it was granite. It's because it had fish kills and it had been easier at one point. But yeah, looking back, I know I didn't struggle, but I could have made it easier
Right.
if I'd been on better bait.
Really?
100%, yeah. Like I baited it wrong, because you know, you look back at things in your past, think,
Of course.
I went about that the wrong way, you know what I mean? Me and Aaron both caught fish out of there because we fished it together. And if I'd gone back now, and I know it sounds mad and a bit of a play, if I'd been on mainline
Yeah.
at the time, Active 8, I'd have caught more, because there was lads on there that caught the fish using mainline that
Weren't putting much in.
no, they weren't that good either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The bait made them look good. And I thought if I'd had that bait, I'd have probably done a bit better, you know what I mean? But
Well, you still caught, mate. You caught what you
yeah,
wanted to catch.
yeah, exactly. Still caught them, but like, yeah.
Classic Levy style, mate. What about another one? Give me another capture. Mate, I think back at some of the stuff we talked about in our former podcast. You've got like 100-pounders from Euro Aqua, which not everybody catches every day of the week. You've got incredible fish. We referenced a place, we didn't actually name it, but we referenced like Cleveley and around there. A lot around Essex Way, but
Yeah.
a lot Yateley as well. There's everywhere,
Yeah,
mate, isn't there?
Hendricks and like, yeah, loads of fish. But that's probably my most recent one. And when I last spoke to you, I just had the 3 90-pounders and a 100-pounder out of Euracra and Charlie's mate. And
Yes.
throughout that whole time, I've been going back and forth from a place called Wixmere, where there's this beautiful long carp. And I quickly realised I did a summer on there that in the summer she really spawns out. And even though
You're going back to the same comment, aren't you?
yeah,
That you just
the one I
yes,
just
yes,
had, yeah.
yes.
So I had this last January, and this fish was so hard for me to target because she's friendly, and she would come out. You know what I mean? She'd come out
Yeah.
at one end and the other. But I sort of realised that all the bigger fish in that lake come out the edge. So what I started doing was fishing off of the fish, which is going opposite to everything you're taught. You know, find the fish, get on the wind. And I remember Steve Spurgeon one day. I was set up in a swim, and Steve went and set up, and he'd had a couple of 25-pounders, and he said to me, "Why are you set up here?" I said, "Oh, I just fancied this area." And he went, "What do you know I don't?"
Yeah.
And what I figured out is this carp, one, he didn't like the group. She was never with that group of fish. And not only that, the big fish like were in the edges. And I'd had one bite that session, it was a 35. And I started to fish. I really went a lot of bites, but I was getting one bite a session and it was 34, 35. And to give you some idea, I had 49 fish out of that lake before I had a 30.
Did you?
And then I went on to just keep catching these 30s out the edge.
What was the difference? So, like a normal session, if you're fishing on the fish, how many would you be catching in a normal session?
Mate, I'd had one session I had 15,
Yeah.
sometimes 10, like, yeah.
So big it's a shoal fish.
Yeah.
If you're fishing in the edge, trying to single them out, how many are you getting in a session? One, two?
One, sometimes two.
Yeah.
And they're averaging 30-pound. So I knew there was a bit of a thing, you know.
Yep.
And a couple of times I came really close to that big one. Like it'd be 1 in the morning, I'd be sat in my bivvy and a fish would go over next to the trees. And it was that carp. It was undoubtedly like,
yeah.
that's the fish,
That's
you know
the
what I
one.
mean? And then it come into the winter, and I think carp, even a carp like that, will act very differently in the winter. They they shoal up in a big ball.
Yeah.
They like to be tight. And coming into that winter, the lake is 8 acres. The club's got 3,000 members.
It's busy.
Yeah, seriously busy. In the night, I think I caught it. There was actually 11 on. There'd been 14 on the night before.
Yeah.
And I got down, and it's one of them walks a lot of guys do overnighters on. So I got down, it weren't very busy. And I've gone round, got in a swim that I'd done well a couple of winters before.
Okay.
Got the bivvy up, and it was raining, chucked my camera kit in it, went back to get my gear quickly. And as I walked past this swim that I think I might have done one night in it ever, and I've just got a feeling, you know, like, I need to be in that swim. I don't know why.
What?
I can see myself catching a big one, right?
You haven't seen anything.
No,
There's not a wind trickling
mate,
in.
it's 15, not even 15 yards from my swim I've put my bivvy up in. I could have cast to the water, but I thought, I've got to be in there. I packed down my bivvy, moved into it, set up, and I fished. I decided what I'd do. I've been doing it for a few weeks. I'd had a 35 the week before on a solid bag.
Right.
I thought, everyone's putting this bait in, and if I bait up, all I'm going to do is join in with adding another load of bait to the middle. So I thought, I've got to make the most attractive parcel I can, which was about 30 maggots, some pellet, and broken cell and essential cell, because that's got a brightness to it.
Yeah.
And I thought, so even in the day, it's attractive and smelly. And it's gin clear water. And it was 19 wraps. I've put this rod out, 19 wraps. Anyway,
But this is not in the edge. This is 19 wraps out into the pond.
This is now in the middle, because it's winter. We're talking January now.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that that big girl, she would get caught at least once a winter, and it was always out in the pond.
Right.
Because I think then she became a pack fish. So where the fish were, she sat with them, because they're in a big ball now. They want to huddle up, you know.
Yeah, a bit of warmth, bit of security.
Like
Yeah.
yeah. And I've put this rod out about 3 in the morning. You know, when you're fishing solid bags, and it's a bit of a pain in the arse tying them.
Absolute pain.
The guy in the few swims up, he slept through a bite and wiped both. He's gone through both my lines. Right, I'm like, reeling in. I think I've got a fish, because the bobbin keeps dropping down.
Yeah.
I reel in, I've got a bit of braid. I'm
Brilliant.
like, I hand line this fish in, right? It's about £28. Funny enough, I knew the fish I'd caught it before. It's a big, long, weird-looking carp. I've unhooked it, cut his rig off, and I tied it onto the bush next to me. So in the morning, he'd be like that. And then I sat in my bivvy and I thought, oh, I've got to retie 2 solid bags. Redone the solid bags. First one went out lovely. Second one didn't quite hit the clip. You know, the rod was back here instead of being there.
Reaching for it.
I was like, oh bollocks, I'll leave it.
Solid
I just
bag.
put it down. It was freezing, you know what I mean? It's January. I've put the rods down. Anyway, in the morning, I'm laying there. It's funny, and I heard this. And it's the geezer pulling the bush where I tied his braid, like. And I've heard it snap off. And I thought, I'll get up, make a cup of tea. I'll put the kettle on. And the left-hand rod that fell short on the clip's gone, did, and just sat there. And I thought, it's got to be a bite, surely. Like, as I've gone over, it's gone ping out the clip. I picked up the rod. And it's coming towards me quite easy. And this fish is renowned for being like 80 yards off your spool.
Yeah, it looks like a nutter.
A nut job, like, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, this is just another fish. And do you know, as you're playing a fish, they're doing this.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's its head doing that as I'm pulling towards it. And that's a big move. I thought, this could be it.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't even seen it and my bum's starting to go, you know. I think, oh my God. And as it's coming along, as it come up like that, I thought it was a fish I'd already had called hardtail, which is about 40 odd.
Right.
And I thought, oh, it's hardtail. And then as it come over, I just see that big white tips tail. And oh, mate, I actually you think,
Slacken off, lads.
Please God,
off.
I'll never drop rubbish again. I'll never do anything like that. And it turned, and I could tell this fish was rearing up to go.
Yeah.
And I just turned the net, and as it bolted, it went boom, straight into the net. And I thought, thank God for that. I had a size 6 hook on, really thin wire, because it was super sharp.
Yeah.
And I got it. So
what did she go? 50?
51.10.
Jeez.
Which was a really good weight for that fish. It was the same as her previous weight, which was the late record.
I think the picture of it's the most mega thing, mate. Like winter colours, like everything that big carp.
Well, do you know what? It's one of them, and I know it's easy to say because I've caught it, but even before catching it, I said it's the best looking common in the country.
It's a good one,
It is.
isn't it?
For a bit, it is just such a mega looking carp. I've never seen it. I've seen it on the bank when I caught it. Before or after, I've never seen a better looking common. You know
nice, an absolute mega carp. Talk to me about 100-pounder and a couple of 90s, mate.
Yeah, the Euro.
I mean, we did a whole podcast on it, but the perspective, and we talked about it before off camera, we talked about like your first 20-pounder and the magnitude of having that in the net and you going, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. You catching 50s, 40s, loads of them in the UK, and then you go to jump to something that is pretty much double the size. Like, I can't even comprehend the size of that, what it feels like to play a carp of that size. Do you know it's that big? And how that all plays out?
Well, yeah, we was having a lot of big fish that session. And when I picked up the rod on that fish, it was like, I knew it. We do this thing, a big Jade said to me, yeah, you got to do the pull test. When you hook a big one, when you're abroad,
right?
If you pull it and it comes towards you, he goes, yeah, ain't a 60. He goes, if you pull it and it just stays where it is, it's 60 and they quite often do. You pull these big ones, they don't move. And I was on 13-foot rods and I've hooked this fish and it's going to the side. And there were some Polish guys next to me who were a proper laugh all week. They had gone home that day.
Okay.
I would have wiped all 6 of their rods out. This fish just went sideways. And it weren't sort of taking line fast, it was just going.
Kiting?
Yeah, just kiting like that. And I'm like, I can't do anything with this. Like that. And it kept going. It did this for probably about 150 yards. Just kept, just
like
going.
A submarine?
Yeah, slow, just like that. And then every now and then it would stop. And I'd think, snags like that. And I'd reel. And I felt it just come off the bottom, like all its body weight. It was just using its weight. And it'd come off the bottom. And eventually it kited into the margin and came along. This took about 15 minutes to get it back to where I was. And Paul was saying, oh, yes. I said, Paul, I've got a 100-pounder on, mate.
Is that what you said to him?
Yeah, I said to him, I've got a 100-pounder on, mate. And he was like, yeah. And Paul's like quite a relaxed guy. Do you want me to film it on your phone? And I said, Paul, phone, mate. I said, let's concentrate. I said, this is a big fish. Yeah, and Pete did a good job with the net, to be fair. As this thing, like when you see it come up, it's huge, you know what I mean? And it don't fit the net. And you just net this fish and it's just like, it went in and I was looking at it and the width of the thing was just unbelievable. And I said to Paul, it's £100, mate. And he said, oh, I think it's a 95, like, and I'm thinking, mate, I'm telling you, it's 100,
How do you
£100.
know?
We'd already had a 93.
Wow.
So we've got it on the bank, and I've put it on the scales, and Paul's looking, and I'm not looking. I went, what is it, mate? And he went, it's £100, mate. And it was like I got this rewind of my whole fishing life, all the
Yeah?
way back to my first 20. I'm like, I've had £100 carp.
That's...
It was just like, it was mad, like, you know what I mean? And then I'm going, no, I couldn't believe it. And I'm going, yeah. And then we took out scales. I went, what was it, 100 and what? Paul went, I don't know, I didn't look, it was over 100 though. So put it back on, yeah, it was £101 and 2 ounces, yeah.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, man
mental,
alive.
mate. Yeah, when
You picking that up?
yeah, but do you know, that's the weird thing. A lot of people went to me, because that trip was mad. I had 285s, 290s and a
Yes.
100.
That's right.
And people said, how'd you lift them? And they actually ain't that hard. And I think it's because they're so wide, they're as wide as the bottom of your arm. So all you can do with them, you've got to do them in the
Cradle
water,
them.
is just come up. And they're there, you know what I mean? You ain't really a lot else you can do with them. So they're so big, like.
Imagine hook pulling that.
Oh, mate, well, just recently I lost to, I think, a mid-60 at the net. And it ain't nice, but it's
Mate, that's different level though, isn't it?
yeah.
And also to put it into perspective, and a lot of people think that you get onto Euro Aqua and you're guaranteed one. They ain't flopping themselves out
No,
every
mate,
day
like,
of the week, could
since that happened now, I've had multiple messages on Instagram. I'm out to Euro Aqua next week.
Yeah.
And I've tell people, look, I would do this if I were you. And a lot of the time I get back, oh, we only had 4 fish. Or we only had I had a guy this week, sorry, I can't remember your name, mate. He messaged me, I'm in swim 5. I know you fished it. I'm having a really hard week. We've had 150-pounder. And I said, mate, 27 wraps on a pole, fill it in, sit on it, don't question it. And next day, Messi went, mate, I've just had an 88-pounder.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Mark saying his name was. And he said, like I said, madness. He went, you said 27 wraps. I've just put my pole out at 27 wraps. Because that's what it's like. Them fish, they're used to being fed. Like the boat comes out, they hear the engine, and it's a bit
They're
like
on it.
spotted on linear. They know they're getting fed. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. I've gone on the last 5 years. I've spent a lot of time fishing Europe, and I've gone from, we was talking about earlier, like the holiday venues like Euro Aqua and places like that, to public places.
Yeah.
Massive inline. I've fished everywhere, like type of water in Europe, from rivers to everything. And there's actually a little bit of a misconception that these public waters, it's all cool, and they ain't that hard.
You just got to find them,
Mate, when you go to a holiday venue, right, where fish are fished for by anglers 7 days a week, 90% of the year, them fish know how to deal with a rig. The public lake fish, you find them, you catch them. So it's 2 different styles of fishing. The only thing I will say is when you fish them public venues, and I've just come back from one, some of the fish you catch are just incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
like
of course.
you're catching these.
Virgin carp,
I
aren't
caught carp the other week, 48-12, and then probably one of the best wing carp I've ever seen in my life. There's black right round to its stomach, you know what I mean?
Another interesting point, you can separate your abroad fishing, because you'd think that catching a 100-pounder abroad and catching that sort of average size of carp, when you come back to, no disrespect to some UK venues and sort of bread and butter fishing, you won't keep that freshness or that spark or that enthusiasm for catching 20, 30-pounders or whatever. But you said to me before, that's not an issue. You very much separate it in your head. Holiday fishing is that, UK fishing is sort of different, isn't it?
100%, yeah. What you do, we were fishing in different countries. What's good here is like a 40 here is equivalent to catching a 20 there.
Yeah.
But it's still, a 40 is a massive fish in England, you know what I mean? Like, I come here to fish, and I know in here there's a big linear, and I sit here thinking, oh, I'd love to catch that big linear. Like,
I hooked it before, but it lost weight by the time I got it in.
Yeah, we did think you had a big linear, but it just turned out you play a fish for 9 hours.
You got to get some footage for the camera, do you know what I mean?
Turns out you're on that size 8. You look at it.
22s, man, I'm a northerner. No, mate, I think it's incredible that you retain that sort of enthusiasm and that you still have that sort of, I don't know, that zest, if you like, for catching fish back here that are pressured, that are very different to the sort of big uns that you catch abroad, mate.
I suppose what it is, Hassan, is it ain't all about reeling a carp in. You know what I mean? Like, some people go fishing to catch a fish, but if you look at what fishing involves, like the picking of the swim, the watching of the weather, the pre-baiting, it's not all about reeling a carp in. It's about the build-up, the unlocking, in the story of what goes on. If you only go to catch a fish, you probably won't maintain yourself as a carp angler. When I dream about catching carp, and I fish in certain lakes and catching them from certain swims, and you know what I mean, getting them going. And if you every lake's got a different soul to it, you know what I mean, and you've got to learn it.
Yeah, mate, live it, love it. Literally, mate, every single day of your life. It's quality, mate. I've thoroughly enjoyed that chat. I'd quite like to experience catching a 100-pounder, but I'll take a 30-pounder from here, either through the course of tonight or tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed we get a few more, mate. But either way, you've done all right, you boy, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done okay, mate.
Nice one, mate. Let's get some brews, watch the stars, and have a romantic evening, because I'm scared of ghost stories, so I'm going to cuddle anyone.
I've got a candle.
Come on. A familiar sight, sir.
Yeah, we're doing all right, aren't we, mate? So,
you are doing all right. What a start to the morning. Right-hand rod, isn't it?
Right-hand rod. They were definitely out there this morning, weren't they?
Well, we saw a few, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, this morning they were definitely on that sort of bit of open water. I thought it was shallower out there. It turns out it's actually not.
It's like 10, 11 foot, isn't it?
That's it, yeah, 10, 11 foot.
Go on, feel a good one? £39.15?
Yeah, let's go for 40 this time.
Yeah, come on then, let's push it over. Do you like this little contraption I've made? A twig in the mesh to hold it back and then sweep under and shallow water. That is the twig. Oh, he's a beautiful one, mate. He's a lovely
he is
looker.
a pretty one, isn't he?
He is the James Armstrong of Sanctuary Carp.
Pretty carp.
Pretty.
Poor old James. Go for it. Yes.
Go on, Davey
Cheers,
boy. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, he's lovely,
he
isn't
is nicked.
Is he?
When I mean nicked,
in the mouth.
mean there is a sliver of a sliver.
Excellent.
But he is absolutely beautiful.
Give him a little rest. Well, I've just had another bite and they're coming off the 11 foot. And Hassan has just run up. He's going to put his rods into 11 foot. They're definitely in the deeper water. And yeah, this one's really holding well. Could be a better fish. We've got a lovely scaly down there in the net. And unfortunately, I didn't bring 2 nets because I snapped a net in half when I was away the other week and I need to replace it. So this is going to be a bit precarious, netting a fish while I've got a very nice fish in the net. I was getting a bit nervous on here when a carp really fights because 1, like I've said, they're soft mouthed, and 2, there's a really big long linear in here that's renowned for fighting and I'd love to catch it. So you've got 2 things going against you, but I think this one is on the ever faithful blowback. I'm pretty confident in the hook holds, but I don't want to speak too soon, obviously, to our soft mouth out. Come on. Lovely, pretty one. There you go. 2 fish, 1 net. Try and get back round here now. Well, that'll do for a good morning. Because I've got a bigger one in there, nice scaly, I'm just going to slip this one back. He's about 18 pound, I suppose. This is a better fish and get the scales on him, so we'll let Has finish doing his rods and we'll have a look at that better one while me and Brad drink a cup of coffee.
How would you like to win yourself a brand new RidgeMonkey Hunter 750 bait boat, just like the one Dave's using here to slay all these carp? In order to do it, all you need to do is like this video, subscribe to the Capital Carp YouTube channel, and answer this question in the comments below. Who would you like to see on a future episode of Guesting? Write the name of the angler you'd like to see in the comments. We'll pick a winner at random and let you know that you're the winner of this mega prize. Look at this for a joke. He's catching that many. He's actually trying to hide from me because of the shame of battering me. Literally off the next peg, he is shooing me in and he's taken to playing his carp. He's in again! Oh, no. You're having a laugh! You're off. I get to play one. Yay! What a boy. I better pick that up, really. Nice reels, these. Bloody hell. Now, you've heard of gillying, and I have been a very good gilly, I think. I've netted some carp, I've made some brews, I've generally kept Dave well fluffed through this shoot because he's smashing it. I've now got to the point where I'm actually reeling in his fish because he's into one, I'm into one, which is on his rod. He's had a double take and he's got one in the net that he landed about 2 minutes ago. I'm about 25 yards down the bank. I've had one bite yesterday at midday. This man is unbelievable. Nice. All right, mate.
Might be 30, actually.
Is it?
No, it's a good
Go
20.
on, the boy.
Good 20.
This looks good. Oh, what a hook hold that is. Oh, that's as long as my little T-Rex arms will go, Dave. Yes. Yeah, boy. He is smashing it. Well done, mate.
Cheers, mate. Well, this was the third carp and an absolute belter at just under £32. The first fish was 24, real pretty one. This is really pretty as well. They're all pretty in here, and yeah, what a mega session this has turned out to be. And we've still got one more to have a look at in the net. Totally different shape to this one. It's a breeze block, but yeah, well chuffed. Well, the second fish in that treble bite, £29 4 ounces, and total contrast to the other two. Short, solid little breeze block of a carp. Yeah, I love them this shape. You can tell that these sanctuary fish are going to get absolutely massive. They're still really young and they're piling on the weight. Absolutely brilliant venue.
Dave, I'm exhausted. Just watching that and generally guiding, mate. You've had a few bites, boy, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had a few now, haven't we, mate?
Well, I've had one, so I've had none. You've had loads. It's been frantic, mate, really frantic, and some unbelievable carp, haven't you?
Yeah,
what, 29, 39?
2 29s, a 30, one that's just under 32, a 39. Couple of mid-20s, couple of little ones last night. It's been pretty hectic, yeah.
Fair play to you,
It's not normally like this on here, mate. Like, you have a few. I was expecting 2 or 3 between us. You know what I mean?
Mate, it's been incredible, an incredible venue, an incredible bit of fishing. I wanted to talk to you about fishing in general, sort of your opinions on it. I know you're not, what do they say, backwards in coming forwards on certain topics, mate, and I've definitely talked to you about them on and off camera. For you, you've been in the game a long time. The modern day carp fishing scene, and this is probably typical. I know it's a syndicate, but relatively typical in terms of stock density, size of carp. What are your thoughts on that, from sort of how it is now to what you've lived through, especially in that maybe in that big carp slant?
Well, you know what? Like, you cannot complain about having more. You know what I mean? Like sometimes more is less, you know. I don't want to confuse people here, but at the moment there's big carp everywhere. You know what I mean? So if you want to go and target different waters, you can. It is nice if it's a bit of a challenge, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot more pride in catching them, and you know, like that's why I like places like Horton, Sutton at Home, and all that, because there's a lot of anglers on there, and the fish ain't giving themselves up easy. And when you caught them, you have to really work for them or really find a different route in to catch them than other people. But I don't think, like, I hear people go, oh, it's better in the 80s. No, it weren't. We've got more carp, big carp, which means there's less people on lakes you're going to, where people used to cram in. Like, there's a lake in Essex called South Weald, and in the 80s, 90s, it had 730s. You couldn't get on it. You'd go down there, it was a day ticket, and it would be Ramo. There's probably still 730s in it. No one fished it now.
Yeah.
There's not enough fish, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's more choice about, and I think, like, if you want to go and fish for sort of fish like new stock fish that are fast growing, you can. There's still the old ones about, so you've got loads of things to go and fish for.
What about the sort of circuit change? When I think back, and you're probably right in what you're saying, like I look back at like the writings of the likes of Terry, those type of books, even probably before that, there was sort of distinctive character fish. And I think maybe I'm glorifying it, but more of a circuit. You've got your Yateleys, you've got your Dustbins, you've got your Heathers, your Marys, all that type. Do you think that's gone completely, or do you think that's changed in some way? I think now, comparing sort of, I don't know, the Beast of Brasenose to Heather, like they're two completely different.
I've said this before, not all carp are equal. They just are not. Like, you can't compare a 45-pound 12-year-old carp to a fish that's 45-pound and has been swimming around 50 years and bears the scars of its life, you know what I mean? Like, and is a wily old creature.
Yeah.
Both of them are amazing fish, but they're not the same league, you know what I mean? And they're the ones I want to catch, you know what I mean? Like, I come to the sanctuary and that because it's good fun, you know what I mean? I said when we come here, this is good to come for a few bites.
Yeah.
And one day, I reckon in 5 years' time, this will be off the scale. It'll be unbelievable. But there's, you know, I still look for the odd one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The old crusty carp, like the Frimley fish, you know, 50 years they've been swimming around there, and they're still going. They ain't about forever, and so you've got to time your waters. I always look at carp waters like flowers.
Here we go.
They're going to blossom at some point.
Yeah.
This one is still a bud, and it's brilliant. In 5 years, this will be a flower. You know what I mean? It'll be full blossom. Frimley is at full blossom at the moment. All the fish are at the peak weights. They're all 45 to 50 years old, you know what I mean? Sometimes you've got a time where you're fishing, you know, and in regards to that Yateley thing, look, it's restocked now. Raysbury's restocked now. They're different lakes, same beasts, just different lakes, you know what I mean? Like, and things change and move on, and you've got to go with it, you know what I mean? So where years ago, I remember when there was like 640s in the country, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can have 40s in a lake now.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you're fishing for 50s, you know what I mean? And like now there's 3 or 4 60s. You want to catch a 60. So everything just moves up a scale, you know. And
what do you think to that though? Because there is an element of commercialisation now, more so. The industry's bigger. There's more people angling. There's obviously places that benefit more. I'd say sort of financially, it's run as a business. What are your thoughts on that culture? How that's come in, and with that, the sort of, I don't want to demean it in any way, but the sort of need for bigger and bigger carp to attract clientele. Obviously, within that same topic, there is the importation of carp, illegally and legally. Where does that all sit with you?
I won't touch them, mate. I don't care if it's legally imported, illegally imported. If it didn't grow here, you won't see me holding it, mate. You know what I mean? Like, because
if it didn't grow here,
I want
or
it
born here, what's the crack?
I just want it to become in a reasonable. It's got to be a reasonable weight fish. You know, like in the 60s, they would have brought the leanies over at, like, you know, little fingerlings. You know, I just don't think, like, you got them fish in Cambridge that are over the British record, but the rod committee, the committee that do the British records, they won't accept them because they know them fish came in well too big. And history is important. We make history, you know. History is made. You can't just go, oh yeah, we'll do this and that's history. Let's get one from Euro Aqua, you know, £80. That could be a British. It's not a British record. You know what I mean? You're just flying it across. That's like saying, you know, we do the Olympics. We're going to get this sprinter. He's from Africa, but we'd say he's from England. it's not the way, you know what I mean? Like, and if people go and fish for these fish, I'm not knocking them for it, because if you enjoy your fishing, that is the ultimate that you need to get. And if I only got 2-3 nights a year and I wanted to go and fish them lakes, I would. I personally, I'm lucky. I live in Essex.
Yeah.
It's a hub of loads of nice carp, so I'm really privileged, and I don't want to fish for them, so I don't. You know what I mean?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. Okay, somebody's imported 2 big uns from wherever you choose. They've had fry, fingerlings, whatever, born in this country, and then they grow to whatever size, a big un, £50 plus, £60 plus, British record plus. Would you quantify that as a British fish?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
You would,
because it's been in a fish farm, or it's grown its whole life.
but it's been
into
born
the UK.
here.
Yeah. Even if they come over at £1, you wouldn't mind. But when the people are bringing them in, you don't need to do it. There's no excuse for it, right? We've got such good fish farms now.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for flying carp from Israel at £50 and dropping them in your lake. You know what you are? A bloody idiot. That's what you are. Honestly, I'd smack the guy in the mouth. That's how angry it makes me.
You told me, I remember, you told me about a case where some carp were getting intercepted and had to be euthanized, didn't they? Was it where you were working or something?
No, it's when I was in the army. A few lads were working a bit of extra time on the docks, and one of them said to me, like, oh, you go fishing for carp, didn't you? And yeah. He went, oh, we cut some heads off 40-pounders with shovels because they'd run out of poison. And like, if you love carp, nothing like that should sit well with you, you know what I mean? I know at the end of the day we hook them, I know that, but look, I am a fish snob. I hold my hands up to it.
Yeah.
I will fish when people knock simmos. That makes me laugh. I've seen some of the most well-known guys in this game go, yeah, I caught a 45. It was only a simmo, and I think, you knobhead, like, that's an English carp. Don't matter what way you look at it. It's grown here. All right, ain't the best looking carp, but it's still an English-born carp.
Yeah.
These guys, you know, they're elitists. They're ridiculous. And when they catch that simmo, when it's a bit like down the line and it's a bit older, then they call it a crinkly old carp. You know, they suddenly change the name of it. You know, you think, mate, you were slagging them off the other year. Now you're like, you know, trying to make a living off of it.
You're on board, yeah.
Like, just stay to your morals. You know what I mean? I don't want to catch foreign fish.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking people who want to go and do it.
Yeah, it's your bag.
I want to fish for certain fish because that's what floats my boat.
Yeah.
If that floats your boat, go and do it, mate. You know what I mean? The people I hold responsible are the fishery owners for not buying off of UK fish farms and maturing their fish and growing them, like Mitch has done with his lakes. Like, he's got 5 lakes, he's got fish at upper 50s, and he's grown them all from doubles, you know what I mean? So it can be done.
What about the culture in terms of anglers, mate? So obviously there's been a big change. I think I've noticed it definitely in my lifetime. My job wouldn't have existed in the trade probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. There has been the sort of rise of social media. There's been the rise of obviously the internet and sort of print publications dwindling off. And with that, there is money in the industry, commerce, people wanting sponsored anglers roles, jobs, tackle, all that stuff. How does that all sit with you? Coming from somebody who started carp fishing, catching big uns based on the sort of pure love of the sport and that quest.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Like, me personally, I've never chased a sponsor in my life. You know what I mean? That people have always come to me, and I find it quite desperate when people continuously email and say, oh, how do I get a sponsor? And they've only caught, like, mate, do it for 10 or 12 years. Get some fish under your belt. Make your photos nice and clean. Make yourself presentable. Don't be an idiot, you know what I mean? And companies will start to look at you know what I mean? But, like, look, the jobs are there. Like, one day I won't do my job, someone else will do my job. And I never want to say to, like, a young lad coming into it, oh, you'll never do it, because someone's got to do it. It's like if my son played football, I'd say someone's got to be a professional football player. It may as well be you, mate. You just go for whatever your dream is, go for it. But with dreams, anyone can do anything they want. It's what they're prepared to give up to do it.
Yeah.
And people see me fishing, some mates go, mate, you've got a dream job, but they're not prepared to do what I did to get here. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, too right. I get that completely, 100%, mate. It's always interesting talking to you. I've had a great time on the session. There's still time to go. I think you're going to get your rods back out after the absolute total wipeout. I'm going to go sit in my swim and just smack myself and say, whack! Why weren't your rods whack? No, but genuinely, mate, I've loved it. Thanks for chatting. I'm going to let you get those out. I'm going to get the bruising again as the pro gilly that I am. And hopefully Well, hopefully we can both nick one before the end. How about that?
That'd be great. And
Brave
then,
shot to finish?
mate, if we can do that and get a coffee, because it'll stop Brad moaning all the time.
He is moaned obsessively. Brad Walker, if anybody eyes him as freelance, just be prepared for have your ears chewed off with just moaning.
Coffee on a drip.
Unbelievable. Demanding, I would say. Very demanding. Diva-esque. Hard work.
So how I prepare my bait will always be determined on what swims in a lake. I.e. if there's bream and tench, you can't get away with fishing crumb, pellet and maggots and things like that. And on the sanctuary, because I know these fish are reasonably young, you know, they're 12 to 15 years old now, and they were reared for the first sort of 5 years of their lives in a fish farm. And in a fish farm, they feed them pellet. So when I'm putting the crumb cell in, I'll always add pellet. So I've got crumb cell, which is an awesome bait anyway, and then what they naturally assume is food mixed in with it. And when you crumb it up, if you was to chuck 20 boilies on a spot, 4 or 5 fish are coming in here and it'd be gone within a minute. But when you crumb it up, it falls in between the bits of substrate on the bottom, and you can keep fish on the spot for as long as, you know, a couple of hours just digging and rooting around. So that's why I like to crumb it up, just to hold the carp in the area and give me a better chance of a bite.
Mr. Levy, the end is nigh, mate. You've absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, it's been a good session, mate.
I've enjoyed it. It's been an honour, privilege and pleasure to watch you at work, mate. It's been brilliant, spot on time of year, spot on venue, and you have delivered, boy. You've enjoyed it?
Yeah, I've had a brilliant time, mate. It's been good catching up and taking the mick out of Brad non-stop as well.
I think you'll remember this session for a long time. There's loads of information there, a little bit of controversy as well, mate, which we always like from you, and a mega giveaway. So thank you very, very much.
No problem. It's been good seeing you, mate.
We'll see you all again soon. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure not only that you subscribe to this channel, but you check out this man's brand new YouTube channel and subscribe to that too. You can also see more of him on the old RidgeMonkey channel. So thanks for watching. See you again soon.